Hey, welcome to Podnutz Daily for June 13th, 2008. Hope everybody's doing good out there. And if you are watching today live, then you're lucky, because if you've been watching before in the week, I've been talking about a contest that I'm having today, giving away free tools. They're very crappy, cheap tools, but for some reason... I can't say crappy. They're cheap tools, but they just seem to last forever for me. And these are my favorite tools that I use on my my laptops. I bought a brand new kit for one lucky person out there. Okay, let's talk about some computers here. First computer I had today, well, actually it wasn't the first one I had today. It was the last one I did, but it bothered me so much I want to talk about it right off the bat, because I still haven't got it figured out. So maybe you guys could help me out with this one. It's a Sony VAIO laptop. I don't remember the model number. I think it's something 260. I think it's a VGN 260. I got to check it out. Anyway, a customer brought this laptop in, and she said she had it in a closet. Her kids went off to college and left it there, so she wanted to use it. Computer's probably about 4 years old. Anyway, when you boot up Windows, it gets halfway through the boot process. You see the Windows logo, and then you see the blue bar scrolling across the screen. And then it stops. Screen goes black for about 10 seconds. Quick blue screen, and then reboots itself. It doesn't do it in safe mode, though. In safe mode, everything's fine. So I went into safe mode, and I turned off a bunch of services. I ran a bunch of my repair programs, like my cleanup programs and my antivirus and anti-spyware programs. And then I went into msconfig, cleaned that out, made it nice and clean, just kept the vital components on, and started it up in normal mode. Same thing. Gets halfway through the boot up process, reboots. So since she didn't care really about what was on the hard drive except some pictures, I went into safe mode, pulled off the pictures off the computer, and said, I'm just going to do a complete reformat of the hard drive. The VAIO came with a system recovery, which is great, because you just let system recovery run itself, and it installs all the drivers that came from the factory. Unfortunately, it installs all the crapware that came from the factory too. But you just take that off later. So it actually saves time, because you don't have to go find and install all the drivers. Well, anyway, I didn't know. I saw that it had a system recovery partition, but nowhere on the computer or in Windows did it give you the option of you starting up with system recovery. But I knew it had a recovery partition. So I booted it, and I couldn't find anywhere online the keystrokes you had to press, or in the user manual, the keystrokes you had to press to get into the recovery partition. So I've done this a couple times. You just boot the computer, and right at the flash screen, the boot screen, the first screen you see, you start I hit like F10, F11, and F12, kind of all intermittently, hoping that one of those will trigger the system recovery. Well, it did, and I still don't know which one it is. It was either F10, F11, or F12, but I got into the system recovery. Now, if you get into the system recovery partition, it's just cake after that. You just say, because the recovery partition will say, okay, look, if we use the recovery partition, it's going to wipe out your hard drive, and it's going to restore everything to factory settings, and you just have to hit next, because that's what I wanted. So started up the system recovery, went smooth, no errors, no corruption, ran for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, said completed, said it was successful, and so I rebooted the machine. System starts up, we see the Windows screen, see the blue bar scrolling across, screen goes black, wait about 10 seconds, blue screens, and reboot. Now, I restored the computer using the factory partition, so all the drivers are exactly how they should be from the factory, and it's still giving me this problem. I was tearing my hair out, except it doesn't happen in safe mode. Well, what we decided to do was, instead of using the system recovery partition, use one of our Windows disks and see what happens. So we went into we ran Windows install, started up our own install disk, ran Windows installed XP fully. It installed fine, system rebooted, and this time in normal mode, it actually went through, and we were in normal mode. And we were so happy, because we're like, okay, must have been something wrong on the system recovery partition from Sony that was causing this. So we were satisfied that we figured out the problem, because we installed our Windows from our own disk. It worked. So, of course, the first thing we went and did is started installing the drivers one by one. When we got to the video driver, as soon as the video driver installed, The screen went black. About 10 seconds later, it rebooted itself. So at this point, we knew it was a video problem. Strange problem. We still don't have an answer to it, actually. I don't know why it's happening. We went onto the Sony website, and there is a BIOS update that handles occasional video corruption. So we're like, well, of course, this must be the BIOS update we need because we're getting definite video corruption. Well, we go to install the BIOS, and it says this BIOS is already installed. So that wasn't it either. If anybody's got any suggestions on that, I can't read the chat room now because I'm talking so much, but put it into the forums, and I'll go check out the Podnutz forums, or send me an email at podnutzdaily.com, mail at podnutzdaily.com. That's the first one. Still boggles me. Okay, I see some of the suggestions in the chat room. Get an older driver. Yeah, maybe I'll try that. Yeah, we got the driver from the Sony website manually. So I don't know exactly. Instead of Sony, it could be the RAM, but everything else seems to be working fine. I don't know why it would be. RAM seems it could be causing other problems too. I didn't get to mess around with it too much. That's the point I'm at. Phishie says to take it to the Geek Squad. That's a great idea. I'm going there tomorrow. All right, I'm going to get over to the next computer here. I talked yesterday about a computer I needed to replace the motherboard. Well, we picked up the motherboard today because the capacitors on it leaked. And like I said, before I even turn on a computer, if I see a motherboard with leaky capacitors, I tell the customer that he needs a new motherboard. We bought a new motherboard, put that in. System started up fine. Now, if you ever are running Windows XP and you have to install a motherboard in a system, you're going to find out that after Windows XP starts up, after you put the new motherboard in, Windows is going to think that you actually copied Windows onto another computer instead of actually what you did do, which was replace the motherboard. And Windows, thinking it's now copied onto another computer because it doesn't recognize the hardware, is going to say, well, you just copied me. You're not allowed to do that. Now you have to activate me. So you can't get any farther in the installation or running Windows unless you activate it. Now, the problem with this is, and this is the biggest pain in the neck, most of the time, because it's a new motherboard, you haven't installed the Ethernet driver yet. So Windows just can't go onto the Internet and activate itself automatically. You actually have to call Microsoft, and it gives you the phone number in the window that pops up. And you have to go through this laborious automated system call or message. I don't know what's worse, listening to the computer asking me how many, like to type in 50 numbers, or talking to Pakistan or India or wherever the